Hi everybody, it's Mark here. Well, I said I wouldn't do it, and I lied. But at least I'm just lying to myself and not to others. So I came across another Thoth style tarot deck that normally I wouldn't have picked up, but it was half price. And I thought, what the heck? And in fact, I'd even seen some of the images online on YouTube, and I thought, oh, they're not really grabbing me. They feel kind of cartoony or fairy tale and don't have that deep energy of Lady Frida Harris's work on the Thoth, this deck here. But I thought, well, what the heck? It's only 20 bucks. Pick it up and see what you think. And sometimes it's just nice to see a deck in a style you like the Thoth style, and it just sort of refreshes your eyes for tarot reading. You're not looking at the same image all the time, even though you're looking at images that are similar. Okay, all of that is to say, I did buy it, and it is called the Aleister Crowley Tarot, which is kind of a big title considering he didn't put this deck out or have anything to do with it, but I don't know how they got the rights to that, but okay. And there's not even any description of who's put this out or what or why. Anyway, it comes in this big old box that you lift up. There is a book, and it's about 120 pages. And I have to say it is a pretty decent book. It has a color image of all the cards and some descriptors. But what I like about it is it's not getting really fanciful about what the Thoth deck's symbolism is. It's pretty accurate and sometimes quoting Crowley himself. So a decent book as far as those things go. And then the cards sort of lift out like this. So not great. It's just one of those cards. They sit loose in this little well that is dancing around in front of me right now. These are the backs, very colorful. And so yes, here's what I mean by sort of cartoony. Doesn't have the depth of imagery of what we're kind of used to with Thoth. However, there are a lot of good things to say about this deck, and I have to say it really surprised me in how great it reads and how well the cards work together. And so it's got the titling on the bottom just like in the Thoth. And there's a number of really, really great things about this deck if you can get sort of past the art style, which I have. And in a way, it's easier to use than the Thoth as we know it. And I will explain why in a minute. But I won't show you all the cards, but it gives you an idea of how closely they do stick to the Thoth originals. But what I do like, one of the improvements, and there are a couple, is how clearly the decan and the astrological symbolism shows on all the cards. There's no question of, what you're looking at. On the card, you can see right here, it's Saturn in Libra. It's sort of in white and hard to miss. So that's great. So what else is going on with the cards? Well, yes, the cards, the imagery is more simplistic, like I said, more fairy tale, Disneyfied, I would say. And but the thing that is good about that is that, and I have to say, the majors stick very closely to the colorization of the Thoth deck, and I'll show you some examples. But the minors do their own thing. You'll see the minors has the same setup of the symbolism on the card, but the coloration is such that a particular suit has just so many colors and doesn't vary from that. So what is great about that is when you're looking at a reading, you really see, oh, there's lots of water in this reading, or there's lots of fire in this reading immediately. You don't have to sort of look to see, is it a cup, is it a sword, or whatever, and do that kind of jump. Anyway, all that is to say that the trumps in general stick very close to not just the imagery but the colorization, so that's good. So it's not that much of a switch from looking at the Thoth, although he does switch up, or she switches up some of the imagery, and some I like a little better. But anyway, as an example, here's the sun, and here's the sun in Thoth, and as you can see, same basic idea. And of course, this is much, much better artwork. If you were just looking at it as a painting, there's just no question. But what you might be able to see is that you see the astrological signs much more clearly on this card. Here they're just sort of ghostly imagery, and even more so the Rosicrucian Rose, I believe it's called, these two in the center here, barely stand out on the card over there. I guess I would say is if you're learning Thoth, this is actually a good beginner deck to learn on, because you will see details that you won't necessarily see right away if you're just looking at the Thoth card. Here's another example. There is the Tower card. So we've got this mouth, fire-breathing mouth, and sort of a collapsing tower here, and the eye of Shiva, and sort of a dove and this sort of snaky creature. But it all sort of, blends in together. Whereas here, we see the dove very clearly and the snake very clearly, and their colorizations, they're much more diversified than here, where they sort of fade into the background colors. The tower is more obvious, and here we have the mouth-breathing disc, dragon-ish creature. So the setup is exactly the same. We have the eye up here. It's just that you can really see what you're looking at in that card. So again, really good for a beginner. Here's one where I like the addition that they've made here. So the hangman is about the water element, which is right there on the card. So why not just go ahead and dunk them in water? Again, you just get the point right away. Everything else is the same, including the ankh and the snake and the colors. So I'm making my point. Here's another one with the lovers card. The sort of muted purples and oranges here are sort of bumped up into really deep purples and scarlets. But we still have the two interracial babies on the thing. But if you notice, like here we have the Orphic egg, and actually there are sort of reddish wings, but it all kind of gets lost a bit. And here we just put on proper wings and you can't miss it. The Hebrew word for this card means sword, so we really see the swords sticking out here. Whereas in here, they're kind of bent and not obviously swordsy. Again, I'm not criticizing these fantastic cards in the Thoth. I'm just saying, if you want to see the imagery very, very clear, you can see it in this Aleister Crowley Tarot. I like what they did with the Aeon card here. They've kind of removed the ghostly Horus baby and just left the more warmongering Horus, which I think is what we're seeing more of in the world, before we get to this, sort of more innocent vibe. But I also like how, this is an Aeon, and he does seem to be sort of stepping out more of a time warp. You don't really get that feeling here. Here's the goddess Nuit, the goddess of the sky. Well then, here she is, and is actually part of the sky, whereas we just sort of go to this orange flaming background in this card. which is you know, ruled by fire. That's why it's right there on the card. That's why it's so bright and orangey. But down here we have these little pod people in the Shin Hebrew letter sort of being birthed, and so much clearer here, as is the wings orb of Osiris. So you get the idea. Here's one where she went totally different, in a different direction. This isn't my favorite card in the deck. It's a very obvious Mercury. I like some of the other Magus cards that she designed better. Here, you know, it's the Thoth deck. Why don't we just put Thoth right there, front and center, as the Magus. So I like that. One of my favorite cards in the Thoth is the Princess of Cups. And it's very ethereal and lovely and all that. But here I feel it's so much clearer that she has, you know, the swan on her head, the dolphin in the background. And something that is important about the card is she's earth of water. And so that's why these things are crystallizing, this crystallization on here. And here we really see it happening on her gown and in the water. We still have the turtle in the cup. So, you know, everything's there. It's just a little easier to see. So the one thing about the court cards with this deck, there's more diversity, which is nice to see. This is my significator card. Now, nothing can touch this dazzling guy in the chariot. So I won't even try. But she still gets all the important bits, the chariot being pulled by the lion, and everything else going on, and it just adds a little bit of diversity, which is nice to see. I like her courts. Courts are very important to me. Here's another court. For some reason, she's turned the knight around, which I kind of enjoy because we see the sunburst coming off the front of this shield, but we're just looking at the back of the shield. Here, she's just going to go ahead and show us the entire design that we couldn't see before, which is nice. So now when I get to this card, I like to make another point that, like I said, how the suits all really match up in terms of color and tone. So here's the 8 discs, and you can see this could very well be in the same landscape, which is something I really, really like. And it's a clever use of, she's just made it an orange tree, which is nice. So here is the Thoth version. Beautiful, beautiful card. But this one sort of fits in, again, the environment of the card I just showed you. Wands especially are very fiery. This orange, russet, scarlet is in the background of all of the wand cards. Here's the equivalent. Not much going on in that card, actually. It's not very interesting. Not much color diversity there. But you'll see that here we have the 9 of Wands. So you see how they really work together and how they would just pop out in the middle of a reading. Having said that, this is great, that consistency. You know, we still have the moon to the sun vibe as we do in the Thoth version. But, I mean, I have to say, the going from the dark here into the light and all the moons on the ends of the things, you know, obviously there's more to sort of read off of in this card. But in terms of consistency in a reading, I really, really like this. And they're sort of turning into my everyday deck. If I want powerful readings, I'll still use the Thoth for friends and family, but just for reading, just for the day's reading, I really like the simplicity of this deck. So here's an example of the water suit. It's mostly all the deep, deep blues and pinks of the flower. And yes, at first I really missed, you know, the brilliant colorization of this 5 of Cups. Absolutely, no question. But again, in terms of matching another cup card, it really, really does a good job there. Whereas you can see, they really, really go in a different direction in terms of the color in the 10 of Cups and the Thoth. The other thing I like about this, the whole point of the Ten of Cups is it's satiety, so it's too much, and the cups are starting to tip and fall because they're over watered. And we're supposed to see that in this card, but it's very minor tippage. It's not as clear as we see here, so we get that idea right away. Here's our swords. Can't deny this one's more beautiful and stunningly powerful. But when we see another sword card, here's a Princess of Swords, we see the yellowy clouds, and there's pinks and pale blues, and that tends to be the entire suit. We have some more diversity here, but we still have her defending her altar as she does in this regard. I kind of like how she's put her arm out, like, you are not coming near this. We get the idea here, but kind of having her face us kind of really puts the point across. Although I have to say this is one of my favorite paintings in the entire deck. The colors, the figure, everything is really, really great about it. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that deck. I really would encourage you to pick it up, especially if it's half price. If it's not selling that well, I don't see it out on YouTube very much. If you're looking for a beginner starter deck with the Thoth system. All right, that's it for now. See you next time.